This is Cricbuzz chatter then at the end of 2 days of cricket. We're not going into which day it is. At the end of 2 days of cricket, I'm in Mumbai where it's raining and Simon Doull is in Arctic lands by the look of it. I've never seen a Kiwi wearing so many clothes in an English summer. How are you feeling, Simon?
It's cool. It's cool, Harsha. Yeah, no, I've come back to my room. It is a little bit warmer in here, so if I have to take this off halfway through the show, well, don't be surprised. But yeah, we've lost another bit of time tonight to bad light. There's some really dark clouds out there, and once again, we're going to be a few overs short, sadly, on day whatever.
Yeah, day 2. Let's call it how many days we've got. It's okay. We've got 3 days left. We lost 22 overs today, but really, if you see, the game's not progressed such a lot after 2 days. A lot of overs bowled, but we've only lost 12 wickets today. Out of which 9 of those we lost today. So let's go with the day in pattern. I thought, and you said it yesterday too, that maybe India were marginally ahead at the end of day 1. I think it's safe to say that scenario has changed. At the end of day 2, I thought New Zealand bowled magnificently today. I mean, he only had to put a ball in the hands of a Kiwi, and I dare say Simon, wearing his Arctic gear, would have still swung the ball very well. What was it, first of all? What did New Zealand do right? I thought Kyle Jamieson bowled brilliantly, but so did all the others.
Yeah, it was more about control today, line and length. They erred yesterday. They went searching for wickets on a surface that was always going to offer up enough if you put the ball in the right area and actually bowl the ball in the right area. You can't just put it there. You've got to still bowl it with purpose in the right place. But New Zealand did that. Picking up Kohli early on was such a key. And then from then on in, there was a couple of moments with Ajinkya Rahane, with Ravi Ashwin and with Ravi Jadeja as well. But for the most part, they kept really just bowling nice, tight lines and picking up those wickets. And that was the big key. You know, it's an easy cliche. We say it all the time, Harsha, don't we, about the first hour being crucial, and each day it becomes that same scenario. And we'll talk about that again tomorrow, I'm sure, with that same scenario of New Zealand looking to bat through that first hour. But it was, and New Zealand they bounced back nicely from a position where India looked like they were, I think, about 65-35 in ascendancy to a situation where now New Zealand look like they're probably 70-30 in ascendancy. So it's it's very good performance, I think, from New Zealand today.
I mean, I saw one of the graphics on air saying India 8% chance, New Zealand 33% chance. The draw still seems to be the odds-on favourite. What a gem you found in that Kyle Jamieson. What is special about him? I mean, we've seen really tall bowlers in the past. We've seen Joel Garner, Curtly Ambrose, Tony Greig. He's around that height, but he's got the in-swinger, he's got the outswinger, he's not the quickest yet. But, I mean, there was suggestion that he might get quicker. What is it about him? Is it just the height? I mean, it couldn't be. There's got to be great skill attached to it.
There's a lot of skill attached to it. I mean, the height makes it awkward. The fact that he can swing the ball both ways certainly brings everything into play for him. You can't afford to leave too many alone. He draws you into it. And I think one of the key things that he has over so many tall, fast bowlers of years gone by is he actually pitches the ball up. He does get the ball full. And so it looks like it's going to be a half volley, but because of his height, it just perhaps bounces a little more, takes the top of the bat, takes the stickers, and that's where he's picking up so many wickets. The LBW of Virat Kohli, a prime example of a very full delivery that seemed back in and was crashing into leg stump. So, yeah, he swings the ball away, swings it in, but he gets the ball full enough to bring Bold and LBW into play often enough as well. And I think that's one of the big keys.
I mean, to put things in perspective, you've got a 6'7", 6'8" bowler on a pitch of decent bounce. It's not like Perth used to be in the days gone by, but it's still pretty decent bounce. And Virat Kohli is made around 6 feet tall. You still get him LBW. That tells you just how full he's been bowling. Maybe Tim Southey a little off the boil in this innings, but he's still been very successful in this World Test Championship period. And Trent Boult, he probably swung the ball a little less than most others. We saw a percentage of swing. Probably swung the ball a little less. But I'm going to talk to you about swing bowling, because while you might talk a really good golf game, and while you might talk really well on wind, it's swing, I think, that is really your forte. So I'm going to come to you on that in just a moment. In India's batting, we talked about Virat Kohli. We talked about a lot yesterday. Ajinkya Rahane looked better today than he looked yesterday. And that dismissal of Rahane, he's on 49. I know it followed a little miscue over mid-wicket. My feeling was he plays that shot a lot. I thought he's just trying to tap it behind square for a single.
He was trying to do that, but was it the option? I honestly don't think so. Not when that field had been set.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly what Wagner was trying to do. He knew what was coming. That to me was what the issue was. I think if he plays that shot without a fieldsman there, I kind of go, okay, he mistimes it, no problem. But he knows the man's there. He knows exactly what Neil Wagner's trying to do. They've not long lost a wicket. It was just a shot of, I think, well, it just didn't look good from my point of view, from your vice captain. And I wasn't, it wasn't a shot that he'll look back on, I think, and be very fond of watching again.
I mean, we're looking at a side that made 217. We're looking at 250, 260 as being a good score on this track. That is where the 10s and 12s and 9s that the people down the order score, they all add up to about 30, 40. Who knows, that might change the game. What New Zealand did really well as you look down that card. Look what happens when you go past number 8. Ishant Sharma 4, Jasprit Bumrah 0, Mohammad Shami 4 not out. And even 7 and 8 added 37. So it really got about 45 runs from the bottom 5 or 6 in the innings. And that's where I thought New Zealand were excellent. But then you thought 217. I mean, Tim Southee at one point, I thought he actually started a ball to Jadeja around the 7th or 8th stump, hoping to swing it back in. That's how much he was getting movement. But the Indians were largely straight, Doull. What was the difference?
Yeah,
the numbers are showing Shami and Bumrah swung it very, very little. Ishant swung it just about as much as Bolt, who actually swung it the least. So why were they not swinging it?
Yeah, different. I mean, they're not swing bowlers, not genuine swing bowlers. I mean, I know Jasprit Bumrah can swing the ball. We know that. Ishant is more of a swing bowler nowadays. Coming around the wicket, he's got that sort of that angled wrist that takes takes down the side of the ball, and he does swing the ball away from the left-handers into the right-handers a little bit. Mohammad Shami has never really been a genuine swing bowler. He's a seam bowler, and the seam is always bolt upright. Now, to swing the ball in general terms, if you hold the ball straight up and down the seam, that's the seam of the ball, and that's your fingers across it, and just bowl it straight, that will generally be a seam bowler. To swing the ball, I always find you have to kind of have the seam just slightly angled and get that ability to bowl the ball away, much like a Kyle Jamieson or a Tim Southee does. And to me, that's not Bumrah. That is not Mohammad Shami. It is more Ishant Sharma. And that's why they weren't swinging it a lot. I did, however, expect that the ball might seam a little bit more. And Shami and Bumrah at times found it, but they probably weren't just consistent enough, much like New Zealand weren't yesterday morning.
Tell me, in India, a little undercooked because they hadn't played Test cricket for a while, looked a little rusty. I thought Bumrah looked a little rusty as well. Didn't swing the ball as we talked about. Did New Zealand benefit from having each of them played at least one Test match? Or was it just that they had an off day and New Zealand outbowled India with the quicker bowling?
It could have been a combination of both, Harsha. I know New Zealand, I sort of used this example before as well. When New Zealand went into that first Test match at Lords against England, they had the very same preparation that India have had coming into this Test match. They were in Southampton for around about 10 days, 11 days, intra-squad matches, trainings, practices, and they turned up to Lords and they looked pretty set and ready to go. Tim Southee bowled beautifully. There was guys that were in Nick. Devon Conway obviously came straight off 10 days of net sessions here into a double 100 at Lords. So they looked like they were prepared and ready to go. And I thought that India would be exactly the same. I think at times you can look or maybe overthink it and say, did they have enough preparation? I think they probably did. I'm sure in the last 10 or 12 days, they would have bowled enough deliveries to make sure they were ready and raring to go. It's hard, though, when you can't simulate match practice. You try in these intra-squad games, you try, but it just doesn't quite work. And that's the key. It is genuinely hard match practice that makes you better and gets you ready for those matches.
Which leads us into the hot spot, because you've seen a lot of cricket in England. We had some numbers up there as well of how often Mohammad Shami induces false shots, but his average in England is in the high 40s. So that for Simon Doull today is heading into the hot spot. Can a bowler just be unlucky, Simon? Or has there got to be more to it? Is it a fuller length? Is there something to it? Because you can be unlucky for a test or two tests. Or could it just be that he just does too much, beats the ball, beats the bat. Even today, I thought he was the pick of the bowlers again today. Though Ashwin might dispute that, but he was pick of the bowlers. Why is he not getting those wickets in England? He seems tailor-made to bowl there.
I joked about this, and please, folks, this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but my sort of comment was, is he too good, and he beats the bat all the time? Is he not quite good enough to get the nicks? Or is he somewhere in the middle? And I'll let you decide that. That's kind of the thing that you have a little bit of laugh about. The only thing I will say is that when it's just back of a length and it beats the bat, it always looks good. It always looks and feels good. But does he get driven enough? That would be the question I would be asking. If I'm in Bharat Aaron's sort of notebook as the bowling coach and Ravi Shastri and their analyst, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, does Mohammad Shami get driven to mid-off or mid-on enough? If the answer is no, then he's beating the bat from a back of a length or just short of a good length, and it looks good all the time, but he's not inducing the drive. So is he beating the bat just on the back foot or just as they're coming forward, but not really driving at the ball? Maybe his length could go just a little bit up. But again, he plays so much white ball cricket, coming off an IPL, coming off white ball games, is that part of it as well? So that, and my answer would be, have a look at the numbers. Could he go a foot and a half, 2 foot fuller? And that could make all the difference. Instead of going past the bat by that much, catches the edge.
A word about Devon Conway. First, I've been hearing about Devon Conway for 2 years, read all kinds of stories about him, the deals he does. I'll give you that if you bowl to be an hour longer in the net, some sort of peanut butter, donuts or whatever. I can see from the way he bats that he just loves batting. He doesn't seem to get worried by his run rate. And to think he's a very good T20 player. I suspect, Julian, you've seen so much more. I suspect his skill isn't what he doesn't do as much as in what he does. In that he's not fishing around outside, he's not getting into troublesome shots, and so he's playing to his strengths.
Absolutely, 100%. He very rarely, he waits for that ball to drive. Otherwise, he's just not driving at all. And you'll see him in trouble getting inside edges a lot. Well, that means he's covering that more than enough. So I think we had a stat at Lords in that Test match double 100 where he had something like 18 or 19 inside edges and 1 outside edge only, which didn't carry to slip. So, and I was talking to Kumar Sangakkara about this very thing, and he said, if you're getting inside edges, don't worry. You're covering it. You're covering the ball that's going to get you out, that's nicking. And if you're getting inside edges, it's not going to hit your pad as well, or it hits your pad afterwards, so you're not going to get LBW. So he's doing the right thing. So, yeah, you're spot on. He limits the mistakes. He limits the bad shots. And it seems at the moment the only way you get him out is bowl a half volley on leg stump. Down square legs, right? To Mohammad Shami.
Did he ever work part-time in an ice cream shop? Because he keeps scooping it up. He keeps getting these scoops up. One shot there. It's only a short innings. We only have 2 innings. But bowlers are now going to target that. But it doesn't matter how he looks. If he keeps scoring runs, who's complaining? I think there's only one word written in that New Zealand dressing room, and it's written in about 180 point size, huge all over, and it's just patience. Wait, the bowler showed patience, the batsman showed patience, and that's why they're ahead, and that leads us into fast forward. Simon, we love talking cricket, and yet we must talk weather as well. We've lost such a lot of time. Effectively, we are at the end of day 2, but we lost another 22 overs today, given that we are supposed to play 98 overs, and tomorrow it's not looking good. Tomorrow, it's right through the day. I looked at the Met Office forecast, I looked at the BBC forecast. It's showing 70, 65, 70, 65, 70, 80 all day, which leaves us, let's work for purpose of calculation, 2 days. Where is this game going? Do New Zealand make a go at it, or do they say, no, even if we get 2 days, that's good enough. We'll try and build a lead of 150 and then put India in and see what happens, if they have the option.
Yeah, I think it will come down to time. Absolutely. We've covered that. Tomorrow looks awful. I hope we're wrong. I hope the Met Office is wrong. I hope every app that I've looked at is wrong. If there are 2 full days left, 98 overs per day, and let's say New Zealand were able to get 220, 230 on that one day that they are going to bat, maybe a little bit more.
A little bit more, because if they don't lose
yeah.
wickets, there'll be urgency.
If they don't lose wickets, they'll be a bit more urgent. That's a possibility. But India could easily come out and go bang bang, and the next morning of play we get, and all of a sudden 217 doesn't look bad. 120 for 5, and then you're in trouble. 130 for 6, and there's trouble. So all 3 options, I think, are well and truly on the table still as we speak. If New Zealand were to bat really well, I know that they would have a bowl at India, on that last day. No matter what. I think even if their lead was 150, 160, they'd have a bowl, because if they had to chase 80 in 6 overs or 8 overs, just to try and win it, they'd give it a crack. And that's the key. So look, I think all three options are well and truly on the table. And if we get a full day of rain tomorrow, like it looks like we're expecting, we're down to 2 days, and a result is going to be harder to come by, but they are still possible.
We'll wait and see. What I will tell you, though, is it seems like there's little time, but 190 is a lot of overs in Test match cricket. So don't cross your fingers. I still think there's a result possible, but at the moment, as Simon said, and we all agree, New Zealand's slightly ahead. So we'll leave the Kiwi, who's used to cold weather, in his summer gear as he is in now, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. There's lots to talk about tomorrow as well, but hopefully we'll talk cricket tomorrow, Simon. Take care.
Cheers, Harsh. Thank you very much.